Awesome. Thank you so much, Jane. Welcome, everybody, to Career Lab Wednesday. This is the time that we meet from noon to 1 p.m. Central, where our job is to support you in your career. We're looking at career aspirations today. What gets you excited? What turns you on about what you could do, the difference you could make, the people you could connect with, the compensation you could get, the recognition. What is it in your career that really matters to you? And are you aware of that, and are you facing the perhaps challenges or that you might have in kind of realizing what you could get from your career? So that's just teeing it up a little bit. But like I said earlier, we are here primarily to serve you and to help you answer any career-related questions, give you coaching if you are navigating the politics in your organization. If you're interviewing, we work with people who are just starting in the job market to people who have perhaps worked at the same company for 15, 20 years, and pandemic came along and shuffled everything around a bit, and moving into possibly something else. Or if you're at your current company and you're wanting support to develop from right where you're at, you're wanting support with your relationship with your manager, supervisor, or boss, or your team, anything is fair game. And Dr. Gordon Medlock, I'd like to tee you up, introduce you. It's so good to have you here with us. Dr. Gordon Medlock has years of experience in helping people create a meaningful career for themselves. And so it's absolutely wonderful to have you here, Dr. Medlock. I'd love to hear your input, your thoughts on career aspirations and how to harness myself as I'm developing in my journey.
Well, thank you, George Donald. It's always a pleasure to work with you and to be a part of this. So career is, I think, as many of you have heard me say, I view career as really an opportunity for our own personal growth and development, that it's one of the great places where we're confronted with so many of our own issues that gives us plenty of material to work with. So I'm always enjoy being able to support people in this process, because I think it's really an important area for our growth. The thing I want to just say about career aspirations is, we've got a seminar coming up on purpose. And I just want to say, part of when we look at our aspirations, it's a chance to look at. Somebody keeps trying to get in here. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
I still got my. Let me just go back on my Zoom here. I've still got my.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say was that we're looking at purpose, and a lot of times people get overwhelmed by the question of purpose. Like, what's my purpose? I don't know. I've got this job. I'm going to exploring what I'm doing. I don't really. That's a big question. We like to break it down to the sense of that you can really look at purpose in each moment of what you're doing. If you're preparing for a meeting, for example, what's the purpose of that meeting? How are you going to best serve the purpose of that meeting? Be an agent for success in that meeting. Really being able to attune to purpose in the moment and being an agent for actualizing purpose for you and for everybody else that's involved in the activity you're in is really an important skill. And even if you're really don't feel like your job has relevance to what you really want to be doing in life, you're maybe working as a bartender and you really would like to be an attorney, I don't know, whatever it is, there's always a sense of purpose and a reason for you to be where you are, and the opportunity to use that to move toward the next step you want to take. So it's really about being conscious and present to what your situation is and what you're there for and what will give meaning to you and the people you're engaging with. So that's really the game we're playing, is helping people wake up and be aware of what those inherent purposes are in their situation. And if they don't like where they are, fine, then let's explore how to use that current situation to leverage it as well as you can to the next step you want to be able to make. So I hope that takes some of the mystery out of the big question of purpose and what do I have to figure out about my life, and breaks it down to, like, what's our purpose today in this moment? And our purpose is to serve you, as George Donald has said, in supporting you in your career. So we invite any questions and comments that you'd like to make in that and toward that end.
Dr. Medlock, thank you so much. Thank you for that context. As you were sharing, I was thinking about some of the things people who I've worked with have said, where when they know what their purpose is in a meeting, that, on Zoom, it may be that they want a certain result. And instead of just sitting there, they might click on the thumbs up button. And so it's just more engaged in the moment to help drive the results that they want. And so it doesn't have to be, like you were saying, some grandiose thing. It can literally be like, oh, moment by moment, am I on purpose? Am I helping my agenda move forward? And so I wanted to give that just as an example. But I would love to hear. We've got Samantha. Welcome, Samantha. James Willis, welcome back. Good to see you. Eric Miro, welcome back. I want to throw out here, if you have any questions, if you are viewing in through LinkedIn Live, you can type your questions into the comment section, and Jane Coletta will get those over to us. If it at all possible, we love it when you join in directly on the Zoom link that is also in the event page there on LinkedIn. You can click on that, join in, and ask your questions directly. Get direct coaching with Dr. Medlock and myself. So those are the two ways to engage while we're live here. So that being said, Samantha, Eric, James, what would you like from your time today? How can we support you? So, Dr. Medlock,
Sorry.
Samantha, hey there.
Sorry, yeah. I apologize for the no camera. I'm dying with allergies. None of you need to see the blotchiness.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So I think my big question, and I am going to the More Life seminar, and everyone you recommended, I think the biggest struggle I have is to not sort of get, I want to use the word depressed, frustrated, bogged down in trying to figure out what I want to do next. Before I start applying for jobs and doing my resume, I'm trying to do the what question on what I want to do. And I did all the skill stuff, and I tried to look at what I was good at. And I asked people that I know, and they gave me lots of sort of ideas. But it's funny, most of the jobs I've had over the years, I've sort of, no, I don't know if be given them, but it's like, oh, I'm somewhere, so almost been given them. And it's to sort of figure out what to do for that next decision. I think I get discouraged, and then I get depressed, and then I sort of give up, and I'm like, okay, this is too difficult. It's too stressful. How do I make the right decision? I know there's not going to be a life decision or a right or wrong decision, but it's how do I not get discouraged before I even get out the door? I mean, as you guys could understand, my therapist right now is jokingly threatening to make me apply for jobs that I don't want because of the exercise. Gordon's like, yeah, that is what my therapist, because it's just the thought of getting myself out there has such fear with it. So,
well, Samantha, can you tell us, first of all, what's your current situation? Are you working now?
So I do work. I work as the title's a research assistant executive search firm, but I will explain the caveat of that. I work there because it's basically a firm that my stepmother is a partner at. Mm-hmm. So it's a job that was sort of basically slightly created for me, slightly not. And then they needed me, so they kept me, but it doesn't have any kind of benefits. It doesn't have any future career. And to be very honest, I have no interest in recruiting at all. I don't like the field. I don't like the kind of recruitment. It's advertising, media, magazines, and not that there's anything wrong with that. But my side of the world was always social service and education and training and that kind of stuff, which is so the other side of the planet. And part of me.
How long have you been doing this job at this search firm?
At this point, so I've on and off worked there for years.
How many years?
Oh God, I have to look at my resume, but it's been ages. Because I mean, I'd work there on and off in between school and in between other jobs, like 1 day a week or 2 days a week. This time around, it's been more since COVID. I basically was doing something, had to leave it because I had to have surgery and I couldn't be around other people. I was fortunate enough to have unemployment, and then once unemployment ended, I had to have a job, and I wasn't comfortable being back in an office yet, and trying to get a remote job was very difficult. So I basically took what I could get,
Which was what?
which is basically working there as, it's a research assistant. It's kind of an admin position.
So you stayed in that job for, like, you're talking about 10 years, 20 years, 5 years?
Oh, no, I'd say overall, I've been there for more than 10 years.
Yeah, okay. So your big part of your resume is your experience with this particular job.
But it is and it isn't, because I have other experience doing other things, and it basically, because I've done so little there, it's like, it's minor admin tasks.
So what have been the jobs that you've had that have been the most relevant to what you want?
I worked at a nonprofit firm working with adults with developmental disabilities.
Mhm.
On paper, I was assistant supervisor, but it was more like, I didn't get to supervise, but that was the official title.
Mhm.
I worked with clients. I did some staff training. I did some event planning.
And did you enjoy that work?
I did enjoy aspects of it. Because of sadly what happened, how I left the agency, I'm not welcome to go back there, which is okay. You know, things happen.
What happened? Was you
Basically I was let go. Well, on paper I wasn't let go. On paper I quit, but I would have been let go because there were some things that I shouldn't have said that I did. And looking back, I understand how things happen.
Mhm.
But, you know, I probably was immature in the way I did things and made comments and said things that would have been better just kept in my head.
Gotcha. So you learned some lessons there, huh?
Oh, huge. I would definitely not make the same mistakes again.
Well, good. So, okay. So you're kind of coming up off a hard time and really looking at how do I get my feet back under me and find a position that I can really fulfill that's going to be meaningful for me. So I think, what it sounds like is you want to get back into something in the area where you're serving other people in a meaningful way. That's important to you. And it relates to the question of purpose and aspiration.
Yeah, I mean, what I was basically, recommended was like staff training kind of world, some kind of like event planning kind of thing. Someone the other day mentioned to me HR, but on like the training side of HR.
Mhm. Well, what is it you want to do? Which ones matter to you?
I'm happy, like I liked training people, I liked scheduling events. I'm happy to do more than one thing. Like I don't need to do the same thing every day. I just need to not be bored. I'm an ADHD adult, and being bored as an ADHD adult is the worst thing ever, because
Mhm.
I get myself in trouble.
Good. Well, so it sounds like you've got a sense of what you want to be doing. You want your resume to reflect the story. One of the things you want to do is make that search firm experience look more relevant than maybe it felt to you about what you were doing. So it shows that it's a meaningful contribution to your development as opposed to something you suffered through for 5 years or so. So that's going to be important. The story you tell is going to be important. But I think also targeting, we recommend strongly networking as a way to kind of get into the job market. And so for you, I think it could be exploring different jobs and different fields that you're interested in, to just start talking to people about what that work involves. What are the challenges that they're seeing? What are the enjoyments they have in that area? Telling them you're in a transition process right now, would like to know if there's any opportunities at your place you're working. Just questions like that to get yourself engaged, but also practice sharing your story and what it is you bring, because you want to be a net giver to wherever you're going, and you want to be able to show how you've contributed in the past and can contribute in the future. So it's really a practicing process of just getting engaged in that process of you stepping into your next job and really exploring it through networking. And I understand there's a lot of fear around that and a lot of upset, but I'll tell you, once you get used to, just breaking the ice and exploring, no pressure on this. This is more informational interviewing right now. You finding out what's the best right fit for you, getting to know people, getting to know new leads to talk about it, start enjoying having those kind of conversations will be a good way to get you started on it.
So, okay, that is amazingly helpful. My big question is the how, because like, I mean, obviously I'm very fortunate that I have like a wide variety of people that I come in contact with and friends and everything,
perfect.
but
So
I don't know how, like, I don't know anyone who directly, for example, does what I want to do, or like,
here's what you do. You've got a list. You've got 3 different columns in your list. One are the people that you know that are really good friends that you can talk and say, I don't know what the heck I want to do. What do you think? It doesn't.
yeah, I did that. I did that. That was the first project already. Yeah.
So you've got them together already, but you can always ask them, I'm thinking of these kind of fields. Do you know anybody in that area? Do you have any friends that maybe I could talk to? So you start using your kind of, I call them C-level people for just kind of getting the sense of, just support. Then your
Okay.
B-level people are the people who are in the professions that you're interested in healthcare, in developmental disabilities, in some kind of nonprofit. And you start looking at, well, who are those people? Where can I find out about them? Can I get some meetings with them? Do I know anybody who knows anybody in that area? So you start building through asking questions and connecting with people. Best thing to do is get an invite from somebody who happens to know somebody in that area. And then your C-level are the people who actually can offer you a job. And that's, or your A-level, I'm sorry, where you should really have your act together and be able to really professionally interview and really show your stuff. And you need to rehearse for those, and you only get one shot at those, so you want to make sure you
Of
do it.
course. Yes.
Now,
So-
sometimes you're sitting on a bus and you're talking to somebody, and it turns out it's an A-level contact. Then you got to go, then you got to, make sure you don't soil yourself in the middle of being terrified and say,
Of course,
okay,
yeah.
take a deep breath and just start being you and being friendly. Ask them about them, explore what their world is about. Don't try to do a job interview on the bus, but get them talking about and show an interest in them. And if you've had a good conversation as you're getting off the bus, that was really a pleasure. I would love to have a chance to talk with you further. Then maybe you can have a follow-up meeting where you can be more rehearsed. So it's about meeting people, connecting, and just sharing more of you and getting curious about them and where the best fit's going to be. And it's going to be an adventure.
I mean, I tried already because the fact of LinkedIn and the fact that I happen to have a recruiter account. So like I added a bunch of people on LinkedIn
Good.
that I thought, and it's funny, the ones that are like within my network are more willing, like all the nonprofit and the healthcare people are willing to take my invites.
Good.
When I'm going over to because I was looking like museum education and that kind of training, most of them are kind of like, and I understand why I'm a stranger and I don't even have like second level connections.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
It's how to get someone to even talk to me that doesn't know me, doesn't know someone I know, and I'm essentially a stranger to on all accounts.
So follow the places where you do have connection and don't focus on the ones where you don't yet. And just create those. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to spin in negative thinking. So just keep going where there's resonance, and that's where the opportunities are going to emerge.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, good luck to you.
Samantha, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing and checking back in and bringing us on the journey with you. And Dr. Gordon Medlock, thank you for your expertise. I think I want to bring in something that some folks have been mentioning to us is about having a career lab that isn't streamed live, where people might be able to be a little more, if there's confidentiality things that you don't want streaming online shared. So that's been coming up, and I was just thinking about that too, Samantha, because when I remember when I was in Career Lab and was trying out new things, was kind of following this process of looking for what I wanted and doing interviews, going to interviews that I was like, I don't even know if I want to work at this job, but my coach told me to just do this.
Yeah.
And I remember going and getting a sales job. I landed it. and I was so happy. But the thing that really surprised me was I was also so upset and terrified. And I was so pissed, and I was like, this isn't it felt like I was like I know this is going to be a little dramatic sounding, but it felt like I was betraying myself. But I was going to do this job because it made sense, and there was things I knew I just needed to get myself going. But I also was like, God, this is so upsetting. And I remember calling my coach and just crying for like 10 minutes on the phone, because it was just so kind of, as I was making this transition, and it was a big transition for me. And so having that kind of space, the confidentiality, I just want to name that too, that there's all this analytical stuff. It's challenging that way too, just putting all the pieces together. And then inside, there's all this other stuff going on. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm discovering myself in this journey, and like, what the hell? So Samantha, you're going to get some of that sort of deep discovery stuff on the More Life training. But I just also wanted to throw this out here as we've been getting requests for a different group that isn't streaming on LinkedIn Live. I just want to name that out here, and would love to get feedback on that. Maybe at the end of today's, we can take some input on that, and even just in emails or over LinkedIn thoughts about the next group that will probably be starting here. So I just talked a bunch, and I see I got questions coming. And Dr. Medlock, is there anything you'd like to add?
I just wanted to say, we found it for people who are holding back a little bit because they don't want to necessarily have everything they're doing broadcast, that we could have an opportunity for some more private kind of interactions where you can be more candid. So it's really creating more safety for you in this format, if that would be useful to you. So just want to get your feedback on that. So.
Thanks, Dr. Medlock. Well, good to see you. We've got more folks joining in. Hello, Tiffany, Rihanna. Good to see you here. Dennis and James. James, you've got a question about, you would like to know how to inventory your skills, interests, and likes, and then look at the kinds of jobs that align with the above. James, I don't know if you can come off mute, but it sounds like you just said how to do it. It sounds like that sounds like a great plan right there, is just to do an inventory of writing out your skills and interests and likes. Once you have those on paper, seeing which ones kind of rise to the top the most, that are most important to you, paying attention to your feelings and your yearnings, as well as the gifts that you have. And then maybe you'd run that by folks.
So I'd like to get James's response to that. I'm curious to hear what he has to say.
James, are you available?
Yes, I figured I'd ask a question and answer it at the same time.
We can't quite hear you. You're very
James,
faint.
it's pretty quiet.
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better.
Beautiful.
All right, what I said, I figured I'd ask a question that answers itself. But basically, it's just the question that I'm asking, it just seems so cumbersome, of trying to inventory those skills and then linking them to jobs that I like. Is there a website that I could link? How would I go about finding jobs that would align with those skill sets and likes? It just seems cumbersome.
So it's kind of unknown territory for you, is making that connection.
Yes.
Totally, I get that. Me too. Well, what are your skills, interests, and likes?
I like helping people. I like technology. I like moving around. So I don't want to be in one spot as far as sitting down all day.
Mm-hmm.
I would like something there's a mix, if possible, but not mandatory, but a mix between something that's physical and something that's technical, something that's mental and physical. So that'd be nice. But certainly if I can move around, I want to use my head. So I want something that's going to require some technical training.
So here's what I'm thinking, James, as you're talking, is that you have a list of some very general qualities that you want to develop, that you know are important to you. That you have that as a checklist. So you kind of just have that list on one side of your paper, you might think, for you. the thing is, for an employer or for a job search, it's got to be made more specific and concrete, right? Otherwise, people can, it's too generic. Nobody would know what the best you would do with these skills. So one of the ways to do that is to look at your current resume and define your accomplishments that you've done so far in your work. It can be in your work, it can be in your personal growth work at Wright, it can be in hobbies you've done, but what are the skills that you've already demonstrated in your life that you've been successful at that relate to these things you're talking about? That is probably the most important exercise to do in your self-inventory, because each of those bullet points actually are part of your resume and they're part of your skill set. So my first question is, what's the status of your kind of resume around your capturing your accomplishments and skills in it? How is that? What kind of shape is that in right now?
Hold on. Say that, that's an interesting question. I say my resume is fine. I would like to say that, but capturing my skills, yeah, I say my resume captures my skills.
Well, good. So you've got your skill list then from there. And I'm going to close my door here so I have a little more privacy. So what you want to do is look, and by the way, when we talk about the resume and bullet points, we talk about PAR statements, writing them in the form of problem, action, result, rather than just a list of duties.
Got it.
So what we want to hear is, what are the problems you've solved in your work life? What are the actions you did to solve them? And what were the results that you created? And if you can quantify the results, all the better, because that people want to get some sort of sense of what the specific impact you've had. So if you have those PAR statements down, you can then look at, okay, now what's the story of where I'm going here? Where does this take me? What direction does this set of skills lead toward? Now, remember, we talk about emergence in our work. People are emerging all the time. You're developing and growing. You're actually integrating and doing some deep personal growth work right now that's going to have relevance for your career. So you need to look at your skills related to what you're learning at Wright as well as part of your resume. And that's all leadership training and social emotional intelligence training that will translate into career development, if you want to take it that way, and I'm assuming you do. So you want to be clear about that and put that together with your work-related resume and put it together in terms of how does those things come together toward what it is you're looking for in terms of the kind of position you're wanting. So let me know how does that sit for you as a plan?
That sounds, James, maybe I know you might be available and unavailable kind of from where you're calling in from. Dr. Medlock, that sounds great. And James, I know you pretty well. You moving into a management position will be a challenge, but also incredibly meaningful. And I think now you can be looking at what's a company, what's a space where that would be available for you to develop into. Given some of the trainings that you've done and some of the leadership projects you've taken on, I'd say you've got room to develop there. And you've made progress in the past year significantly there. So I think that if you're still listening in, I think looking at companies where there would be room for you to develop into a manager would be a spot to start looking, and then tailoring your resume towards that. And I also want to name, Jane, if you can find the Revitalize Your Career course link and throw it in there. That's a process that Dr. Medlock and I put together with Dr. Bob Wright that just works for people who are in a career transition or just starting off. So it brings in a lot of what we talked about, but it's short little videos. So you're able to go back and reference it. And there's worksheets that you can reference and go back to as well that will help you flesh out your your vision, your companies that you're applying for, et cetera. And it includes 3 coaching sessions as well. So we can talk more about that, James.
James, also, you're at WGU, are you not? Is that?
No.
No, not, okay.
Not yet.
But you're doing the lab program, correct?
Yes. So the other side of that question was, after I identify possible jobs, then looking at those, what the skill sets and those requirements are, and then seeing where I fit in with all of that in terms of going to a grad school program.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I recommend for people to do is just look at the postings of jobs that attract you in industries that you attract. Get some samples of the kind of positions, like, that's the job I want to do. I didn't even know it existed, but there are jobs that are being created all the time that didn't even exist 5 years ago. So, find out what's out there. You can go to the various websites and just explore, but you're going to try to find that match. You're exactly right on. What's my skill set? What's the market? How do I put those two together in a position in an industry that's going to make sense for me, where I can use my skills as a manager, as building my social and emotional intelligence skills, and also have the chance to get up occasionally and not just be sitting in front of a computer screen and walk around and meet with people out in nature, where the heck you want to be. Find out the job that fits all those categories and say, okay, I'm gonna circle that and put it on my mirror, so that every morning I wake up, that's what I want to be doing. And how do I start meeting people that can take me there? So you have fun with that. See what you come up with. Okay?
Beautiful.
Now,
James, thank you so much.
The key thing is to actually now do something about it. Not just reflect, but actually, okay, what are steps I can take out of this conversation that would lead me in that direction? So tell me at least one step you can take as a movement toward what we're talking about.
What I can do is I can start writing down those skill sets. I can, in the form of the problem, action, results. I can start writing down those things, problem, actions, and results, and then aligning those and seeing where I have gaps or things that just keeping that up to date. And then that's the one thing. That's the one thing that I grasped out of all of this.
Well, that's a good place to start. So you let us know what you're coming up with is your skill set, and what you see is your direction and gaps. That'd be great.
Yes, James. And then it makes it very easy to share. Some people are more visual and text. So you could jump in this meeting and share that on your screen and get everybody's kind of head on it, or pass it around. So there's something about putting it out on pen and paper, or I don't know, these days, computer screen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, James. So we're going to do a quick room reset before we get you in, Dennis. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to jump in. I like your question, so we want to get to you.
I was curious about Dennis too, wearing his bike helmet on an L. Any guy who's doing that, I want to hear about it. So, okay.
Yes, yes. So everybody, welcome. This is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. And we invite your career-related questions. Our job is to help you develop in your career and to use your career as a vessel for you to become who you can become. You can join in directly on this Zoom. We love it when you do that. We can work with you directly. If you're unable to, you can also type your questions into the comment section on LinkedIn. So with that, Dennis, are you able to jump in here? Would love to talk to you more about getting into a new career. You're going to have to hit unmute.
All right, there you go. Okay.
We got you.
All right. So what do you want to know exactly from the question that I wrote, or how do you want to approach this?
Well, first, I want to know where you're going with your bike.
I'm actually going, I have 2 jobs that I presently work that I had while I went back to school to get my master's. And so I haven't landed that forever job or my last career job. So I'm going from one job to the other right now. And so I had to go from one place further downtown Chicago up to Evanston. So I'm on the train and I bike between different spots.
Oh,
That's what's going on
absolutely.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gorgeous day for it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
So you have your a photography business, and you've worked in music industry, you've worked with banks, um, and you're trying to get into a new career. And while you have a lot of experience, you don't have experience in the agency.
Yeah, I did my own photography thing. I still do it a little bit. I mean, it's not because of COVID, that just kind of is just kind of there. If somebody wants me to take photos, I'll do it. I had a small business of my own called Merchants of Music Promotions, and I was working with local bands. And basically, what I did there was I helped them with their social media, their bookings, everything that a band would need, and try to take as much off the plate as possible to allow them to do what they're supposed to do as creatives and create and stuff. Again, COVID made that all go belly up. While I was in school, getting my master's, one of the things that I discovered was while I enjoyed working with the bands, one of the things I really liked really was kind of the creation, the negotiation, and the events. And so I'm trying to move more into an event planning position. And I have a background also in catering. And so I'm trying to figure a way to leverage all that. And while I had been a chef, I do not want to be in the back of the house again. So there you go.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And do you know what is it that you're looking to get into?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, I would love to do something in the entertainment industry, but for that seems to be 20 somethings, and I'm definitely not 20 something. I sometimes act that way or younger, but I'm not 20 something. So I don't know if I'm kind of barking up the wrong tree there. And the other part of it is that as I was beginning to apply for event jobs, they weren't doing any hiring. They were trying to, but then they were canceling. And now I have stuff out there, and I would be involved in, like I've applied to be with the Pause Chicago. They have somebody for an event. They had a position for an event person. I have a background in creating events and also doing sporting events, and I let them know that. I have not heard a word from them. There was a restaurant here in town that's expanding their event thing, and I'm perfect for the job. I really believe that. And the first go round was they called me the day before the interview and told me they weren't going to be interviewing. They found somebody and they hired them. And now they're hiring again. And I did apply for that position again, but I haven't heard anything there. So, working in nonprofits with the event and fundraising, or working with some sort of agency that would be working with musicians and artists also.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, there's a lot. It sounds like you have a lot of gifts and a lot of ways to contribute. I think the thing that is missing for me that I think would help is if you have some real tangible directions that you're developing, that you're part of your story is, this is all that I can do. And right now, my interest is in X, Y, or Z. That you maybe have a couple of markets that you're focusing on where you can wear one hat or the other, depending on who you're talking to and what your gifts are and what you're going to contribute, but that there's more of a sense of what the focus is that will help somebody get a better feel for what might be an opportunity for you. So
Yeah.
You've got about 3 or 4 things that you've been exploring, but I think it's useful this is actually good for everybody on the phone. When you've got multiple campaigns you're doing, literally you have different resumes and a different sort of approach. Your narrative shifts a little bit depending on which one you're looking at. and kind of know
Right.
who you're talking to, so that you can, otherwise it feels a little scattered, and it's like kind of, I'll sort of do anything rather than here's 3 or 4 very definite things that I'm pursuing right now. And that would, I think, help focus your kinds of networking and interview conversations that you're having.
Well, the other issue that I think I'm having, it has to do with the fact that I don't have this agency background. I've done tours, planned the tour and taken bands from point A to point B and back again, and stuff like that. But I haven't worked for an agency, and so they're like, well, they don't want to talk to you, it seems like.
Well, the skill there is, you know what an agency job is, and basically you've been doing it, so you can pretty well address that complaint.
Yeah.
That basically, I understand this is what's required in an agency position, X, Y, and Z, and here are the skills that I've been demonstrating to do that. So I appreciate, I've liked having the autonomy rather than being, in a more organizational setting, but the skill set is something I've got.
Right.
Well, and I don't know about this, but I've got some experience in the music industry, Dennis. So I'm not sure, but that I don't know that is our music. Are there places that are looking for what you do?
Well, yeah, there are, and I've come across a few, and actually, oddly enough, there was one recently here in Chicago, and one of the people that's involved is somebody that I know, and so I think he's doing something a little bit different. So I sent in the resume. He knows what I've done because we've kind of worked together in the past. And I've told him that I was trying to, be not necessarily involved in my own business anymore, but more of being involved with having a situation with a company. I mean, it was great to have my own business because I was able to do a bunch of my own things. But when COVID, I think I would have things in a lot of different space if COVID had not come around, obviously, but there's nothing we can do about that. And so I just need to, I just wanted to, be in a position that, for me, I think, and I may be wrong, but I have at least another good 10 years or so to be working, and somebody should take advantage of the skill sets and the maturity that I can bring to a position.
Totally, and the know-how. I mean, you as I'm talking to you, there's a lot that you know about Chicago, about things, and I mean, I love that you're like in transition on this call, and so there's a go-getterness that you have too. That's that's great. So I agree with you.
And I think George Donald, I think your question is great of who is looking for your skill set, and having the short list of who are the people that you need to be developing relationships with in a very tactical and strategic way to get in front of them and be able to talk about what you have to offer and research and know them well, so you can speak very specifically to their situation and how you can help them.
Okay, that makes sense.
And have you done any like purpose statement or vision work, Dennis?
Yeah, we did a bunch of that while I was in school.
Is that at Northwestern?
Yeah, I got my master's at Northwestern in 2021. Now did it all through COVID and everything. So we did stuff like that along the lines and creating purpose statements and all that kind of stuff. And so I do have that. I do have the knowledge about how to do that.
What's your purpose statement?
It's that one that's in my LinkedIn. It says experience with music and blah, blah, blah. It's that one in there.
and blah, blah, blah. Now, the thing about
Well,
purpose,
I can't read it to you right now. I'll lose the space.
but first of all, what was your degree in?
My degree's in a program there called Leadership for Creative Enterprises.
Perfect. So that's your focus right there, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and I'm a creative myself. I paint, I photography, and writing. So
Got it.
So
That's your group. Okay.
so Dennis, what Dr. Medlock is highlighting there is the companies that, so if there's I'm just picturing many different companies that are perhaps new to Chicago, or newer, younger to Chicago, and you to be able to connect with them and see what it is that they want, and be able to help them develop here, in this city, and also probably beyond, because now we're global all the time. But I just think there's probably a lot of opportunity for you, and it might be outside of the technically like artist or musician. Like it might not have those words with it, but that it would be creative for sure. Have you looked at marketing stuff?
I have been doing some of that. I mostly what I've had recently is like either Zoom or telephone interviews. I'm actually going on an interview this Friday, which is an in-person interview. I'm not, I can't say that I'm 100% excited about the position, but I haven't done an in-person interview since God knows when. So I think it's worth at least going out there and doing that.
Here, here.
So.
Okay, well, Dennis, stay in touch with us. Check back in. I want to hear how this goes, and I'm going to be thinking about you and possible connections, etc., and just kind of on your journey.
Sure.
Two things I'd like to just add to, Dennis. One is, I think your industry has been hit as hard as any industry in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That's
been through, and also that finding the groups and the places that you think have the best commercial opportunity, and start talking to them about what you can do for them.
Mm-hmm.
Really, as you're looking for a quote job, also be contacting and talking to creatives that you'd like to see develop and flourish, and what you can do for them, and just they'll help the narrative of what you're about too, just to pick up a couple of gigs as you're looking. And it's not so much my new job, but it's more like, here's the story of what I do. Like right now I'm working with X organization, or I'm doing this with what, XYZ band or photographer group. Mm-hmm. So it just gives it more tangible evidence that you've got this, what's needed. So I'd recommend you doing that as well.
All right. Thank you.
Good luck to you. Look forward to hearing.
Thank you very much. All right.
Fantastic. Well, sweet. Thank you so much, Dennis. That exciting stuff. This city, for those of you who aren't in Chicago, who are joining in here, Chicago just hit 90 degrees yesterday.
Wow.
And so we went from, 45-degree weather to 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Really, so the city is blossoming, is opening up, and it feels really freaking good.
Yes.
So we've got a few minutes left here, and Rihanna or Tiffany, I would love to hear from you, or Eric, if there's anything that you want to check in on before we close up today. I'll give you a couple moments while I tee up. I want to say again that we have an event tomorrow evening with one of our co-founders, Dr. Bob Wright. He's going to be talking about purpose and meaning in the here and now. And this guy, Dr. Bob Wright, is freaking awesome with this stuff. He brings in human potential stuff from the 60s that I just love. And it's a real treat. He doesn't do a whole lot of evening workshops. So if you can jump in and join him, do. It's an absolute gem. hidden gem there that you won't have as many opportunities to connect with him as with others. So just want to put that out there. Would love to see you there tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. And Dr. Medlock, anything else you want to add?
Well, I just want to say hello to Tiffany. Good to see you actually show up on the screen. And how are things going? I want to hear how's, our WGU students. I always want to hear how they're doing and how they're doing in their careers. So that's always important to me.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I was looking in what you were talking about skill sets and so forth, because I'm redoing my resume as I consider where I want to go forward, and how I could possibly to narrow down as well. So these discussions are very helpful, and how I can apply that as well. And because I'm realizing too, I've been learning a lot more new things in the last couple of years as well, to add to my resume, or to change it, or maybe highlight those things and take away some other things that are not so relevant, because I realize it can get very
So I'm
huge.
curious, how do you use your coaching and leadership skills in your next job, or even in your current job? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh yeah, see, I haven't even thought about that too. So yes, it's something for me to explore how to do that.
I would say you're in the degree on transformational coaching and leadership, right? The master's program?
But the certificate for
Certificate.
transformational coaching.
Which certificate are you getting?
Coaching.
Yeah, perfect. So coaching is, the cool thing about coaching is it shows up as a dimension of all kinds of jobs. And your job in higher education, working with students, I believe, right? You're coaching all the time, I suspect. So but tell me how does the coaching play into your job, and how is it enhancing your skill set?
I think that in appreciative advising, has some of the same skills as coaching does as well, in capitalizing on people's strengths, and like seeing what their goals are and how they can reach that. So the listening skills, having that rapport, being interested in others, picking up on things that could highlight some areas that they could go to, and problem solving.
Yeah. Good stuff. It sounds like you haven't actually thought through
Write that down.
that this degree, actually, the certificate is actually shaping your job now, and it's actually giving you skills that you're developing and growing and using. And that's going to be a cool part of your narrative. Whatever you're looking for next is how you're applying your degree in enhancing your effectiveness in your role and being able to demonstrate what that looks like. Because people are very turned on by the coaching dimension of management now. They want managers to be coaches. So your ability to talk about how you've made that translation will be very attractive in the job market.
Good point. Dr. Medlock, I've been hearing about that, of how to support somebody to come up with creative solutions as opposed to just telling them what to do.
Yeah.
To be able to work with somebody who's more talented than you, has perhaps more skill sets, but to be able to help them to flourish and realize their potential. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Well, we've got a few minutes left. And Tiffany, so good to see you. Thanks for reaching out. And I'm hoping I'll get to see you on the next More Life training in June. We have a lot of fun assisting together on those. So anybody who hasn't come to a More Life training yet, I know Samantha, looking forward to seeing you there. You got to check it out. I'm one of the regulars there, so love to have you on my team. But Rihanna, is it possible at all we could close out today with helping with some PAR statements? Dr. Gordon Medlock is freaking awesome at these, so no pressure, Dr. Medlock. but would love to get a couple in here if you're able to.
Well, I'm just kind of going over different things like at work, going over working with kids. It's just, if it's working with the kids part of it, if it's the part, I've worked with management, what to really kind of establish, because as a teacher, it's like, I'm adapting as things come up daily, different things happen. And so being able to take it, adapting, making changes to the day as we go, minute by minute, planning field trips, bringing things in. Granted, that hasn't been as much lately, but we're getting back into that now, setting up relationships with the library, thinking of different, programs I've taken at work, organizing different things at work with things, meeting parent concerns as they come up. There's a lot, and it's kind of, how do I narrow it down to really what would be most beneficial to show?
Well,
Is it something that I do?
Everything
more?
you've just mentioned is in your back pocket to pull out at the relevant moment when what's needed. So you've got a rich skill set. And the idea is you don't want to throw all that up at somebody.
Right.
Here are the things I can do. It's like, it's overwhelming. What you want to do is engage with them about what their job is. Are you looking at other opportunities? Are you building your own?
I am rebuilding a resume and looking at other opportunities.
Okay. So as you're doing networking and interviewing, you really want to understand them, what their situation is, what the problems are they're challenged with. Ideally, you've done some research on it. But you've got a lovely skill set. Just all that we talked about would be gold for anybody.
Okay.
And the strategic thing is to be present in the moment, to understand when this is just the story that's going to resonate with them. And then you don't just skip over it. You just skipped over. I mean, you didn't skip over, but you touched on any one of those. Could be a 2 to 3 minute in-depth sharing of, here's the kind of impact I've had in a similar situation, and make the translation to the current one you're talking about. Help them see the connection.
Right.
That's really the strategy of what you want to do. You're always coming back to serving them. Skills. And you've got a lovely skill set. So it's just for you a matter of getting in front of the right people.
Thank you. That's the goal right now, is just kind of really developing myself and putting more faith back into myself. And that's kind of the key, is having that and knowing that there are more opportunities out there, and finding the correct ones that are good ones right now that will fit.
You've got more gold than you know, I think, just in what you shared in a few minutes. So for you, it's like, don't just throw it out on the floor for people to pick up. Take each one and say, well, here's something, that ability to multitask, to be able to address the concerns of parents and kids in a flexible day schedule. That's what many people define that as the chaos we live in. You're able to negotiate that with kids and families. God bless you. That's it.
And I want to say here, I mean, so the we had one guy who had developed a spreadsheet where he just listed out all of his PAR statements. So it was, here's the situation, here's the task I was assigned, the action I took, or the star action I took, and the result I got. So, okay, connected this thing with the parents here, and we got this kind of result. So, and so you could do that and just have a whole list of them. And then depending on where you're sending your resume, you just pull from that list and put them in there and be like, okay, well, this one's the most applicable to this job, so I'll put that one at the top.
Thank you, George Donald. Yes, and that idea of going slower and taking them with you on the journey of your story. They're not going to be long stories. They're going to be 2 to 3 minute stories, but you can be very specific about, I was working with this family with, mom, dad, in this situation, and their child was being challenged with this degree, this problem. And we had a lot going on in the school with X, Y, or Z. And I was able to step in and pull some order to this and identify this child's skill set and be able to communicate with the parents around what's needed and the teacher. And we really got them in the program where they could make a difference. Something like that. So it's but what people want to feel is that they can picture the story, because then they feel they're with you.
Right.
a lot of people talk at too abstract a level and people don't get, well, what was it really like? I didn't really picture it. If you can't picture it, George Donald's really talking about getting we call it sensory grounded information, high quality information where they're there. You think, oh, this is too much detail. No, people want to, it's like when you make a movie, it's all about the detail, right?
Right.
Too much detail. It's, did I get that shot? Did people experience being there? You want to become that way of communicating with people.
Okay. That sounds great.
Thank you, Rihanna. So good to see you, Dr. Medlock. Thank you so much. We got to wrap. I'm going into the session. So
Alrighty, thanks all.
we'll be in
Thank
touch
you.
about the next groups and see you.